And we're live. Hello and welcome, everyone. It's time for another exciting episode of IT Career in Australia channel. And tonight's topic is tech layoffs, impact on organizational structure and roles. Today, we delve into the deep concern over job cuts within the tech sector. So our panelists explore the underlying reasons behind these layoffs and how they reshape organizational dynamic. We also talk about potential new avenues for tech professionals that's emerging and emphasize the importance of adaptability in navigating evolving roles and emerging opportunities within the industry. Maybe you got affected by the recent layoffs, maybe not, but I'm sure we'll find today's discussion insightful. So, and make sure you have your questions ready. Also, as usual, please don't forget to introduce yourselves in the comments. Let us know what you do and join our conversations with your questions and comments, or at least say hi. Say hi, because if you don't say hi, we don't know that you're here, and it's kind of like it's not nice, you know. Please say hi and let us know that you're listening. So again, tonight's topic: tech layoffs, impact on organizational structure and roles. And before I'll pass it over to our speakers to introduce themselves, I just want to remind you quickly that we're streaming live on LinkedIn and YouTube. If you missed the stream, no worries, you can watch a replay by subscribing to my YouTube channel, IT Career in Australia. And I go live in this channel basically every Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. with various experts of my network. And you can also join my meetup group. It's also called IT Career in Australia, and you can register for future events. And we also have face-to-face event in Melbourne. So also always suggest you to use this live stream as your opportunity, not only learn new information, but network with people in the industry. Please ask as many questions as you want in any platform, but remember, the most active participants will receive a special surprise at the end of the stream as well. So a few people saying hi. Shir here saying hi. Good afternoon, everyone. Alidat here. Hi, I'm listening. Thank you. Thank you for letting know. No, Casper's here. James here. Anthony's here. I'm online as well. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, guys, for saying hi to us. And I'm going to pass it on to first our speakers to introduce themselves. We'll start with Todd, please.
Yeah. Evening, all. So I'm Todd Perkinson. Currently CEO of 81 Holdings, which is an ASX-listed business. We run a variety of software with a portfolio company, running software and job boards and mentoring, coaching, leadership space, and also within the energy sector. So pleased to be here and looking forward to an engaging chat and hopefully some takeaways for everyone.
Thank you, Todd. Evgueni, please, over to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Evgueni. I lead an IT consulting company called Revity. We focus on Gen AI, contact center, and digital from a software engineering and data engineering perspective. Prior to Revity, I was the head of technology at Origin Energy Retail, where I spent about 6 years. And before that, I used to work at Census. So I've kind of been through a few cycles of the layoffs and seen the results and impacts on organizations. So looking forward to the chat.
Thank you, Evgueni. And Peter, please, over to you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Peter Lamb, and I work for a company called Claritas Consulting. Most of the work we do is working with larger or complex organizations to unblock the delivery across their portfolios and programs of work. I have spent a lot of time in the Agile space, been teaching it publicly since about 2013. So lots of conversations and lots of impacts over the last 12 months in that space. And hopefully we'll get to that a little bit later, Jana.
Perfect. Thank you. We have quite a lot of people joining us. I'm just quickly say hi to acknowledge that people joining us. Shilpa is here. Deepika is here, Rod is here, so quite a few familiar faces. Wilson's here, Dom is here, Liz is here. Megan, thank you for saying hi. Nicholas, Asfar, Peter, the whole Agile crew's here. So thank you guys for joining us. So without further delays, so obviously make sure keep posting the questions in the comments. We'll get to the questions, but first, before we go to the questions from the audience, so obviously we heard it all. Every YouTuber out there has a video about tech layoffs and tech debt and all this stuff. But are there any specific factors do you think that, like financial pressure, overhiring during COVID, technology advancement like AI, or also, the tax regulations in US? I heard this theory as well. So there's so many theories there, like what's actually, the factors that are causing all the layoffs at the moment. But what do you think is like the main reason of the recent layoffs? And let's kind of maybe separate this question on two parts. Let's talk about global layoffs a little bit in the beginning, and then deeply look into Australia, because obviously we're all in Australia and our channel is about in Australia. So maybe briefly, what do you think happening globally first? And then what's your thoughts about Australia in particular? Maybe we'll start with Peter. We go in the opposite order.
Thanks, Yana. Look, I think there's been a lot of changes through COVID, where there's been a patch where lots of people have hired, and some would suggest probably overhired globally in a lot of large tech companies, and as a result, they're now right-sizing their business, inverted commas, their tech businesses, following the lifting of restrictions, and I guess, if you like, the ending of the pandemic. I think that sort of walked right into a lot of the tech companies are larger than they were at the start of COVID, so they've grown, they've just overshot. I think the second factor that's driving into it is interest rates. The day of free money or cheap money is over, and there's a requirement to prove value or return on investment for the work and the spenders they're having. That's probably more of a Todd type conversation, so I'll bounce on the broad economic side back to Todd on that from a global perspective. But certainly the overhiring and the right sizing is the first thing, and the second one is the interest rates that have come through.
Yeah. Todd, over to you. Maybe a bit more from the financial side.
Yeah, I agree with Peter's sentiments there in terms of COVID was a bit of a purple patch for people. You got rid of a lot of your cost infrastructure by working from home. A lot of people reduced those costs in terms of infrastructure and offices, etc. Possibly overhired, and it's now right sizing. But gone are the days where tech companies can actually run at a deficit, producing perfect, or inverted commas, perfect tech. It's about actually producing commercial tech that actually drives outcomes for customers. And again, interest rates are playing a factor, but also funding is, if you are losing money as a business, not many people are interested in looking at you to provide funding when you're in a loss-making position if you don't have a pathway to profitability. So it's really key to have a commercial focus on actually delivering, MVPs, proof of concepts that have minimum viable product of a tech that drive a commercial outcome, and then have a pathway to proving that. So I think there's a number of factors involved in that, in the pitch where we're looking at that. But profitability, I think, is a big one from a financial and a funding and obtaining funding is really scarce right now, and there's lots of tech companies out there now looking for funding. So the funders can actually be quite picky and choosy about who they invest their money with to get a return.
Yeah, makes sense. Evgueni, anything to add to this, or you will all totally agreed on the main factors?
I think the interest rates and the rising of interest rates definitely had a role, and the cost of capital obviously has increased. But I think what also scared the companies off is the rate of the increase, or the trajectory of the increases. So what we kind of saw is some of the layoffs kind of happened August, September last year, which coincided with the beginning of the financial year. So I think quite a few companies actually haven't kicked off the projects, or they decided to hold off on kicking the projects off, which then meant that they didn't need as many people. And what probably scared them a bit is they didn't know whether the interest rates will continue to rise or whether that will stop. And I think what we'll probably see now is the interest rates trajectory has kind of flattened. And I think now that the companies are probably having a bit more, confidence to then start talking about starting projects again.
Yeah. I tried to find some statistic quickly. So is some of the numbers for layoffs looks like the most global layoffs actually happened in the first quarter in 2023. But looks like it's still happening, and even first quarter in 2024 that's been quite a few. So it's looks like it's still looks like we're still not over the layoffs right now. But what do you think about Australia in particular? Do you think Australia get affected quite a lot with the layoffs? What do you see at the market? Do you feel like that's the trend will continue? Or as Evgueni just mentioned, that it looks like it's flattering, and the next financial year we will see a bit of a rise in hiring again. So maybe we'll come back to Evgueni.
One thing I want to comment about that graph that you just showed is the financial year in US obviously starts coincides with or is the same as the calendar year. So January is actually their beginning of the new financial year. So I think that might explain why there was a jump, because the new financial year starts, the new budgets are kind of set, the budgets are not big enough, or they decide to postpone the projects, and the layoffs kind of happen. Australia is a bit shifted, because obviously our financial year starts from June, so we're kind of like 6 months out. But I think what we probably saw was there was the wave of layoffs from the kind of like US and global-based companies, and then there was a few waves of layoffs kind of in Australia. But I think it was, almost like as an after effect from US. Will it continue? Well, I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully, the companies are now starting to feel a bit more confident. With at least the interest rates are not rising. So I think the companies might actually start to look at restarting projects again.
Yeah. Peter, what do you think? Are you as positive or?
Look, I'm somewhat positive. I think it's going to be tough for time to come. I think that, and if I make observations versus trying to delve into politics. If I look at Victoria, which is where we're based, we've got a bit of an issue where through COVID period, we've got more debt than every other state in Australia, right? Which means that one of the key employers of government is in the process of winding back its projects, expand, and is in the process, some of the departments in the process of letting go lots of staff, which means less projects, less capex, less whatever, right? So if there's underspend rather than spending it on getting help, building technology, running projects, things like that, they're trying to garnish the savings to drive down the state's debt, right? From a national perspective, I think a lot of economists would argue that per capita, Australia's in recession, but we're not, but we're growing because we continue to import more people, right? And as we import more people, there's more competition for jobs, there is more competition for housing, and they're trying to balance this, keeping Australia growing, but at the same time trying not to drive inflation through the roof. So I think you've got that, those two acts in government are driving uncertainty back onto the rest of the businesses. A lot of the bigger businesses at the moment are seeing that and are, in the process of optimizing or right-sizing and things like that, which is why when the share price, and I saw Michael's comment around share prices and stock prices and profits, the challenge is when the profits are down, people aren't spending as much, they still need to do the return on investment, so they cut costs. And typically projects in a lot of cases are considered discretionary spend, so they start to cut costs. And that's where we're starting to see that sort of balance, of that delicate balance that we have. And which is why we're sort of not seeing as much expenditure, project expenditure this year as we have in previous years. And it's a little uncertain as to what's going to happen post 30 June.
Yeah, Todd, what do you think? Do you have any predictions, and what do you think about what's happening in Australia?
I'll gaze into my crystal ball, but in terms of inflationary pressures and interest rates, etc., no one really knows what's going to happen with those. Are they going to drop mid-year? Are they going to drop end of year? Are they going to stabilise and try and fight off sort of inflationary and unemployment, etc.? So, for me, I think you've got to work on the case that it's going to stabilise, and I think everyone's working on that basis. Agree with Peter in terms of government spend going down. Are we in recession? It's a sort of a grey area whether we are or we aren't. And with that, you're typically in recessionary sort of periods. There's a lot of work done around infrastructure, but again, those small projects that fuel the economy aren't being engaged as well. So, look, for us, it's I'm feeling pretty optimistic about the end of the year. I think the wallets will start opening for us in terms of the financial year beginning. It's going to be a tight Q4. If you take it from April to June. But I think people will look to reinvest into new projects at the start of the financial year. Budgets reset. Might have been some overspend in the start of this financial year or the first half of the financial year. So sort of Q3, Q4 is going to be consolidated and trying to hit those budgets with keeping those staff down to try and come in on budget where they may have overspent the first half. So I think there's a bit of cautionary into the end of the financial year. And we'll see what happens in the start of the financial year, but I think I'm feeling pretty optimistic that budgets will start reopening up again as confidence sort of gets back into the stabilisation of interest rates, which is really taken some of the air out of the market in terms of spend. So that's my sort of personal view on the whole thing.
Yeah. Okay. So I think we're feeling quite reasonably optimistic here. So that's good. So there's a few people messaging that they get laid off as well and can't find a job. So I think we kind of already answered the question from Shu, what is the IT job market like in Melbourne, Australia in general? So with 25 experience, haven't had any chance getting the job. There's Deepika here saying just get laid off last month from Accenture. So there's definitely a few people here who've been affected. I want to just quickly, before we go to the next question, maybe touch on the Dom's question here. Does funding into AI ML capability also impact tech layoffs and hide rates? So we didn't really touch there, AI. A lot of people kind of, have a bit of a fear that AI start taking some jobs and things like that. And then obviously the companies start investing more into AI research and things like that. So what do you think? What do you think about all that AI and if it's been contributing at all to the layoffs? Who gonna go first? Peter?
I'm happy to discussion, and we'll save the Evgueni for last, given he's the expert in this space. We've been lucky to work with a number of AI folks who specialize and do a lot of research in this space. I think there are lots of interesting prototypes and things like that in terms of AI, and of course Microsoft and Copilot and things like that. There is certainly benefits using an acceleration of people doing stuff with AI, but I think it's probably a little overblown to say that companies are realizing the benefits of that. So I think if you look at something like the ChatGPT, which is obviously the one that's sort of exploding to general populace, I think it's great to generate content, but you still can't trust what it produces and whether it makes sense or not. And you actually have to have the experience to actually look at it, read it, and judge it. I think some studies have shown that AI accelerates coding and coders. But if you look at most coders or developers, most surveys will suggest a developer will spend somewhere between 30 and 40% of their time coding. So it might help you generate more lines of code, but does it actually help you generate more value? And I think that it's still too new for most companies to have taken advantage and to drive the job changes. I think there's lots of people looking to adopt AI and to drive AI and machine learning, and if we look at Mobile World Congress that was occurred in Europe, less than a month ago, AI is what everyone's talking about, but it feels like very similar to the word of agile, that occurred, 5-6 years ago. Everyone's talking about agile. Everyone's thinking about agile. Everyone thinks that everyone else is talking about agile. Everyone thinks that everyone else is getting benefits, but no one's actually made the investments, nor is doing the work in that space to get the benefits from it. I think there are substantial changes for people ahead, but I still think that's actually still ahead of the curve. I don't think it impacts jobs right now.
Yeah. Evgueni, what do you have the similar view on?
I would agree with that. I don't think the waves of the layoffs that we've seen over the last, 9 months, I don't think they've been triggered by AI. I think if anything,
it's just my phone. Sorry, guys. You seem not prepared for the stream.
Someone is agreeing with me. I think if anything, I mean, the proof of concepts and AI conversations and a lot of the kind of like trials that the companies are doing, if anything, that's probably creating more project work and maybe attracting a few more people into it, not replacing the jobs yet. And like if you actually look at the calendar of even an average IT professional, the calendars usually are full. So people don't have enough time to do everything they need to do. So the people that are now embracing AI are kind of like able to at least get work done in addition to all the catch-ups and all the meetings that they have to have. And more and more companies are now bringing stuff back into the office, which actually means that your kind of like deep thinking, productive flow time is now reduced because you're now interacting with other people. So you kind of need AI to even get through your work, if you're back in the office. Yeah, I don't think the layoffs have been triggered by AI, at least not yet.
Not yet. I think, funny enough, I think HR roles, the ones who actually been affected by AI the most because there's so much automation for like admin work and things like that. So I think it's a statistic about 28% of the layoffs was actually HR admin task, not the tech. Todd, anything to add to this?
Yeah, no, I'd agree. AI is certainly not a driver for the layoffs. I put AI into I put AI into about 3 buckets. One, and it's a very generalization statement here, but one is people put their head in the sand about AI. People know about AI but don't know how to apply it. And then the third bucket is they know about it and they're implementing it. So for anything, I think there's creation of jobs there in terms of right now. But I certainly don't think that the layoffs have occurred because of it. If you look at something like ChatGPT, which I think is maybe about 15, 18 months old, it's been quite commonly used across most organisations right now, and so it's acting like a 30-year-old person already. So I think as we go through time, I think that's only going to get better and better, and we'll see a lot more of it. But a lot of people know about it, but don't know how to apply it to their business or their processes. Agree with Peter. In the coding world, there's a lot of thinking that goes on in terms of practicality and logical sort of thinking that can only be done by a human right now. So yes, they might speed up some of their time, but it's only going to be a very small fraction of their time right now in the coming months.
Yeah, definitely. We have quite a few comments, but I think before we'll go to the question and comments from the audience, let's kind of go back to our today topic. And so the question is here, how does the recent wave of layoffs actually impact overall structure of organizations? So what we see in organizations now, what sort of shift we see? Maybe we'll start with Evgueni now.
I think as the teams becoming smaller, the organizations are becoming flatter. So I think the roles are becoming broader. A lot more organizations are talking about the T-shaped resources or M-shaped resources or whatever. So the remit or the
octopus resources.
The octopus resources, where you have expertise not in just one particular thing, but you have expertise in multiple things. So I think if anything, it allows people to almost like shape their role to what they good at and what they like to do. I think the narrow roles, like you're just a developer or you're just a tester or you're just a business analyst, you're just a product manager, I think those roles are starting to disappear. And let's say developers are also expected to do a bit of analysis, a bit of testing, a bit of development. So the roles are becoming broader.
Yep. Todd, what do you see? What's the trends you see?
Yeah, the trends I'm seeing is a bit like what Evgueni just said about, the organisations were quite deep in hierarchy, becoming flatter. Certainly that makes it, you're getting closer to the detail. So as an executive person, you're getting closer to the detail of actually what's going on. There's you can't be throwing smoke and mirrors around the room to try and distract people to prove your existence. It's actually about outcomes-based roles that are now happening, and that's because you've seen a lot of work from home sort of basis of people. Sometimes that worked, sometimes that didn't. It's a real mixed bag, and that you're seeing a lot more people come back to the office, being demanded to come back to the office 2-3 days a week to get that face-to-face human connection time. And I think that's a real key driver in terms of it. And so I think that there's been a period of grace where we've some companies have worked it really well in terms of work from home. There's also the basis of an Australian-based workforce from the work from home sort of period. You've actually enabled that to really consider offshore resources to do the work as well. So where your team might have been all Australian sort of resident, working from home has allowed that the offshore resources to come in and actually take up some of those transactional roles inside businesses, which have split the finance team, the HR team, some of the development work, some of the testing. It does impact your R&D claim for having those people offshore, but sometimes the cost of wages versus the sacrifice of the R&D claim is beneficial from an economic point of view. So I think there's been some massive organisational structural changes, which has occurred some of these layoffs, but it's not just in tech, it's across the board.
I think to your question, as Joel was saying, are we just too expensive? Are we just too expensive in AI? Feels like a juxtaposition that there is a layoffs in the industry, and internally conversations from PMO is we need more resources to deliver our workload.
But that's an interesting sort of statement there from Joey in terms of people are always asking for more resources, right? And you don't need to throw more people at the problem. You need people to think about what the problem is and where the systemic failure is in that and the problem that we're seeing, to actually think about it and actually re-engineer the processes accordingly to make sure that they're not systemic and they are mitigated, right? So when people say to me, I need more resources, I go, well, you tell me what the problem is, how you articulate it, and what are the current people doing, right? Because throwing more people at the problem actually confuses the problem more.
Yeah, and just create more levels of communication. Yeah. Peter, what's anything to add in terms of the organizational structure? What do you think?
Look, I'll take it from probably more of a holistic perspective, probably from the agile perspective, if you like, is that a lot of the larger companies are going through agile transformations, right? And the challenge you sort of have is that, to take on Evgueni's point, is that a lot of those, when they say agile, they talk about typically they want a better culture, and more empowered teams, but they also want to reduce the layers that exist in the organization, right? And as a result, structurally, the organizations get flattened. They therefore get an ability to save substantial costs on executive and management roles. So you sort of expect to see a lot of the roles that are, and I'll put in inverted commas, middle management roles around controlling processes. Typically, there's less of them around, right? And therefore, because your business goes from a very pointy sort of building and it goes a lot flatter, it means to take the step up, and I saw a few people who are trying to make the next leap to the next layer, each step becomes bigger and bigger and bigger, right? And harder to develop the skills. and to progress up those levels. And if you sort of got that sort of flatter structure, you then look at, the challenges around, driving profitability, return on investment, all that kind of good stuff. You start looking at roles that aren't seen to be contributing key value. And for some reason, a lot of agile coaches are disconnected from delivery of value, which means that they're now seen as a middle management style role, and therefore they have been impacted quite a lot, significant impact through that industry, as more and more people going, well, I've learned how to do stand-ups, I've learned how to do these practices, don't need you anymore, see you later, move on. And as a result, you're now seeing that there's a shift of the agile coaching industry split about 6 or 7 years ago, these people that coach on life skills versus those who do delivery. Now, as a project manager by trade, I've started from the delivery side, so we still remain somewhat busy, but those who are on the life coaching side are now finding themselves, increasingly having difficulties, because if you pay someone a lot of money and their only question is saying, so how do you feel that went? Or, tell me what you think you should do. Well, hang on, I'm here to ship a product, help me move the needle. And if you can't answer that question and you can't connect yourself to value, then I think you're going to get into increasing number of trouble as the market continues forwards.
Yeah, definitely. So, and I just want to probably go a little bit more into the details. So we talk about the, overall structure of organization, but maybe we have some examples of maybe particular roles and departments that have been affected the most. Obviously, we already talked a bit about that middle management layer. But do you think that some of the positions might disappear altogether? In the next 12 months. What do you think? Maybe we'll just kind of go backwards and start with Peter again.
I think if I talk about the agile coaching role, for instance, everyone's learnt the basics around agile. It's baked into how people operate. If you're a project manager and you don't have agile skills, you belong in the last century. Now, brutally, as I always say to clients when we work with them, I'm happy to work with you, happy to help you, but let's recognize that this stuff's been around for 20 years, right? So they're trying to move into the current generation of people that are working and leading. So I think as that knowledge gets baked into them, those coaching, supporting, and training roles, a lot of them will start to disappear because those skills are becoming quite normal, right? This is normalized, the expectation is there. I think that you'll find that as organizations continue to pivot and focus on delivery of product and delivery of value, I think they have exited, a lot of companies have exited project managers, but I think there still is a role for coordinating delivery across complex organizations, right? So I think there will still be roles for people that are good at project management and delivery. The role of project management may not exist, but the skills of working ambiguity, building teams, driving to outcomes, what by when, those questions remain to be asked, and they will need to be answered to support the business cases and the finances of the organization. So I think the roles' names are going to change, but I think the skills will become more invaluable than ever.
Yeah, definitely. Todd, let's go to you. I know you need to jump off in a few minutes. So maybe just give us a bit of a overview. What do you think in the roles? Which department you think been kind of the most affected in roles, and do you think that maybe some positions gonna disappear?
For me, I think the one of the biggest departments that's been impacted is the marketing department. Digital marketing. There's a lot of noise out there in terms of digital marketing. So that, the old days where marketers were the colouring in department. In terms of colouring in nice objects and making things look nice and sexy and stuff. It's really become quite an analytical sort of role, and trying to get ahead of the competition. Everyone's competing for budgets and keywords, etc. But it's really building out that digital space. Quite analytical about how you attribute the marketing spend, whether it be an experience, whether it be a product being marketed properly, and the digital and analytical behind it is absolutely key, right? So there's certainly roles within finance and all that sort of stuff that, typical accountants are going to be gone because, Xero's coming into play. There's a lot more integrated ecosystems around those financial systems. Legal documents are, much more easily sourced. HR, a lot of job descriptions are available through the web now. So you don't need to actually get that sort of technical advice. It's more advisory services from an HR department now rather than the transactional stuff. So I think a lot of those transactional areas of any business are going to go, and it's about the analytical ability to actually drive, as Peter said, the business case behind each one of those initiatives. And one of the things that I always work on is a really key thing, which is how much of what by when. So whenever you're driving up an initiative, it's how much of what by when. And if you can answer those three sort of key points, it's a really key way of keeping people accountable. And I think the accountability is going to come into it, and it's up to people to make themselves relevant and keep themselves relevant, as well as the companies to keep themselves relevant to the market they're playing in. The individuals need to keep themselves relevant from a personal and from a company perspective.
Yeah, makes sense. That's kind of, I think, the advice to everyone, how to stay relevant. So you need to stay relevant. You need to stay relevant yourself to make sure you're following what's going on in the industry.
But the speed of change, though, Jana, is what's amazing, right? In terms of it. So keeping yourself relevant is so key. It's making sure you're reading. It's making sure you're keeping up the latest trends, what's going on in the marketplace. All of those things, go into way that making yourself relevant, and also having a commercial sort of lens over things. So it's long with the days where you're stuck in a dark room just doing something. Having a commercial now, so from an attribute, from a personal perspective, is key.
Yeah, definitely. Evgueni, over to you. It seems like from what we're discussing right now, developers kind of arrived. Yes, it doesn't look like developers have been affected that much. So what do you think?
I think I'll probably echo what Peter was saying before. I think their roles will become fluid, and it will really come down to like different teams having and different size of the teams kind of having people who may or may not be just doing one particular role, right? So on a smaller team, for example, a developer might have to do analysis, the developer might have to do testing, the developer might have to do that wrangling of other people, so kind of like do a bit of a project management sort of role. Now, as the teams kind of grow, and if the teams finds that this, let's say, particular developer is spending more and more time doing analysis or doing wrangling, I think that's the sign to actually bring someone who will focus that on that particular activity, and free up the developer to do more of the development role. So I think people will need to be prepared to be more flexible in terms of the activities that they do. So the roles, I think, will be less of a this person is a VA or a project manager, and that's all the things that person does. It's more like it's an activity, it's jobs to be done, and in a team, someone has to do it. So on one team, it might be done by a developer. Another team, it might be done by someone who has a title of project manager.
Yeah. So it's quite individual. And I know Todd have to leave us now. So Todd, thank you so much for all your insights.
Thanks all.
Well, but we still have quite a few questions to go through. Thank you, Todd.
Good stuff. Bye.
Thank you. We're just going to look through some questions from the audience now. Stanley been just bombarding us with the questions about the local experience and interview, and that he heard about that you need to submit 120 or even 500 job applications and things like that. So I think Stanley, we're not going to talk too much about the job search today, but with a few really good previous discussions that you want to have a look maybe. I really recommend you one with Nashad about how to find your first IT job in Australia, because it's not only about the layoffs. When you're moving to another country, there's way more other factors that can slow down your job search apart of just the market and the tech layoffs. I would really recommend go back and watch some previous videos on that topic. So in terms of, coming back to the, layoffs and the change in the organization. So we already kind of, touched on how can tech professionals adapt and enhance their skills to remain relevant. But I guess anything to add, Evgueni? So, you mentioned that maybe you will have to take multiple roles at the moment and do multiple tasks. But I don't know if you want to give some advice to people out there who might be been affected by layoffs and struggling to find a job and struggling to stay relevant. What would be your advice to them in terms of like what the next step they should take?
I think maybe to even answer some of the Stanley's kind of comments and questions, if you're submitting 100 or 200 job applications and you're not getting an interview, then that probably is an indication that either your LinkedIn profile or the resume, doesn't tell a good story of what your actual experience is. And I think to Todd's comments, like there's more and more expectation from the organizations for people to have this commercial acumen and to understand the business context and to understand how the solution that they're, like if they're a developer and they're building a solution, how that actually helps organization. So your resume and your LinkedIn kind of needs to not just list the technologies that you have used on a particular project, but actually needs to tell like what was the business problem that the team was trying to solve and how you solved it, and how you solved it with technology. So yeah, that's probably going to be my main advice, is to really kind of think of like, if this is your company, like what is your role really in that company, and what are all the things that you need to do.
Peter, what would be your top advice for everyone to stay relevant?
How long have you got? I think that there's absolutely that, you need to, Melbourne is a small business, a small market. Sydney's more transactional, but certainly in Melbourne, this is true. I find that if you want to find a gig, you got to go meet people, right? That means if you want to work remote, that's perfectly your choice. And I think the line that I think that Todd was going, and I'll extend it further, is if you can work remote, your job can be done offshore, right? So if you want to work in Melbourne or Sydney or in Australia, the chances are you have to actually meet your colleagues and meet people and have those water cooler conversations, right? So that's how you build your network. That's how you hear about what's going on. So that's probably the first observation you got to turn up, you got to meet people. I think the second observation I'll make, and it's a bit more of a controversial one, is that if you've only ever done the training that Works provides you, you need to accept that you are average. So therefore, expect an average outcome, right? If you don't go out of your way to go to trainings, to go to meetings, to do all that kind of good stuff, and don't, build, networks and learn stuff, then you have to be by definition average, right? So let me give you an example. If you're a project manager and you're not a member of an AIPM or PMI, which I'm both a member of both, I'm a little bit biased, right? Then you can't be an architect without being a member of an architecture organization. You can't be an engineer without being a member of an engineering organization. What makes project management so special, right? If you're working in IT, ACS is a good example and it forces you. Have you done your professional development units? I mean, I've met project managers and I've worked with that have been project management in the same company for 20, 25 years. The last version of the PMBOK they got was about 4 versions ago. And they weren't aware that there were iterative versions of PMBOK, and they think it hasn't changed. The world's moved, continues to move, right? And if you're not getting out there learning, going to meetups, attending events like this, doing free online courses and things like, if you think that your research is and your learning is you sitting on the toilet at home looking on LinkedIn, you're in the wrong planet, guys. Like, seriously, like the world is so far moved from where it is, right? So I think that, yes, you got to get in and meet people or you'll be offshore. Second conversation you got to have is you've got to turn up. You've got to do some learning, right? How do you know you're good at what you do? Well, you know you're good because you speak at events, you turn up, you learn from the industry bests, all that kind of good stuff.
And I think it's a little bit of maybe a snowball now, Peter, when you're talking about this actually coming to events or like only doing training that your work provided. Because if you've been working remotely for last 3 years during COVID, so you kind of been in your bubble, and you and I know a lot of people did change their jobs during COVID, but it's because there was a shortage and recruiter just called them, and all they did is just log in from the one company and log into and get another login details and start working for another company. So that it's kind of like, a little bit staying in that bubble. where now everything, went back live, have speed up, and you're missing out now on those connections where during COVID you kind of didn't need to be in the city because nothing was going in the city. But now you can't really just disregard the fact that there's real people out there and catching up and talking and having a coffee chats, and that's kind of that easier. Even like when you're in an office building and there is a different company on a different level, that's your chance just to talk with the company in the same building on a different level. And that's something that we kind of forgot about during COVID. And now we need to almost relearn that skill.
Well, the joke is in Melbourne is all business is done up and down Collins Street, right? Evgueni, last time we met, we were on Collins Street, weren't we? We were both going in opposite directions, right? Working out the leather to go meet clients. That's how it works, right? And hey, let's catch up. Now, we haven't done that bit yet, but we will soon, right? And but that's how it works, right? You see people walking by, I haven't seen you for 2 years. What are you up to? Chat. Let's catch up for lunch. That's kind of how networking works, right? You go to an industry event like an ARPM, PMI, or even a meetup. So I run an agile project management meetup, which, some of the attendees here have certainly been. I've seen it. You turn up, you get a bunch of people in a room who are interested in learning something about, to do with project delivery or agile, and they get an opportunity to meet 40 odd other people who are in the same space. You go to enough of those, you know hundreds of people, right? And if you need a gig, hey, I was talking to Evgueni, he was looking at something, can I connect you? That's how it works.
Yeah, and I think it's one thing that a lot of people forget about the networking as well, because networking, it's not just about meeting as many people as you can and find people that are beneficial for you. Networking is actually about facilitating connections between other people as well, and connecting other people from your network with the people, with people in your network. So again, like if you just only like there trying to meet people that are beneficial to you, that doesn't work either. So you need to actually facilitate the connections between other people. That's how the network grows. And then it's more likely that people connect you to some people from their valuable network. So it can be just like one way, or suddenly I need a job and I'm going to go network and try to meet the hiring manager. So it's not really how it works. And I think that's what people kind of forget during COVID, where we didn't need to go out and we maybe lost some touch with some people, and we need to kind of go and do it again. So I'm just kind of cautious about the time. I'm just seeing if we missed any questions. Guys, if you have any last questions, please pop in the comments. So it's been quite a few comments. I'm just hope I didn't miss the actual questions. It's actually maybe kind of a good question from Shilpa. How important is to have a backup career in Melbourne, and how to not to burn a hole in your pocket for upskilling? So do you think, guys, you need to have a backup career? So, if the things get hard, would you go and, I don't know, work in Bunnings? Well, I don't know. Just I think someone was telling me that they had the best time working in Bunnings between corporate jobs. But do you think it's a good idea to have a backup plan? Or it's not about this, it's about being relevant and keep learning? Evgueni,
I'll probably start with the last part, the second part, like how not to burn a hole in the pocket while upskilling. There's actually a lot of free resources. I mean, the meetups that Peter and Jana have mentioned, there's a lot of YouTube channels that are free. There's a lot of courses that are free. So you can actually do a lot of upskilling without spending any money. All you need to spend is your time. Backup career. Look, I mean, if you have to find a job that pays the bill because you're just about to be, kicked out of your apartment because you can't pay rent, then you have no choice. Like, you'll have to do it. But I would say that, if your effort should be spent on learning the skill in a job that you want to do, right? And not kind of spreading yourself thinly and trying to have as many backup careers as possible, because then you will be a master of all, sort of a jack of all trades, a master of none.
Yeah. No, I think I tend to agree with Evgueni. I think the idea of a portfolio career makes absolute sense, right? If you've got enough depth and breadth of skill, you can you can generate, your revenue or your income through a range of things. One of the old entrepreneur schools, everyone can be a thought leader, was like, you get money from speaking, from books, from training, from mentoring, from consulting, right? That's how, and they taught you to build it, right, around that. If that's your boat, go for your life, right? If you are working in a larger corporate type environment, if you had a spare 3 or 4 hours a week, you could probably do a couple of things or get you better. Attend one event a week. You could attend, do a whole bunch more training and development. You could attend one conference every quarter. You could do all those things, relatively inexpensive from a corporate standpoint. And if you are, as I said, if you only do the training that your company gives you, you are average by definition, right? If you are if you continue to train, continue to push the edge, continue to run the interesting projects, you'll build momentum in your career, which means that you're more likely to be chosen for the interesting stuff, which means you're more likely to get more opportunities in more places, which means, and it's cumulative effect.
And probably one more thing to add to what Peter just said. Your professional development is your responsibility. Right? So if you're waiting for your manager to have that development plan conversation with you, every 6 months, then you kind of like you're wasting your time. I mean, you should be having that conversation with yourself almost like, and have, what else can I learn? And if you, and then there's so many opportunities now to learn without spending a lot of money, then it's not funny.
Yes, yeah, it's definitely, it's kind of the culture of continuous learning at the moment, but then you have so much resources at the same time. There's a few more questions been coming through. Rob saying, do you have any suggestions regarding resilience before and after takeoffs? I think it's a bit off topic, but I have another live stream on it. So I like how I have like a library of stuff. So you can go back to Ves's stream where we talk about his experience when he lost his job through redundancy. So you can definitely watch this one. But I don't know if anyone, Evgueni, do you want to, I don't know, say one top tip?
One top tip: don't take it
one
personal.
Top tip
it's not
regarding resilience after layoff.
Yeah, don't take it personal. It's not about you as a person. It's about the role, and most of the time, it's just financially driven decision by the company. So it's got nothing to do with who you are as a person.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a top tip. We have a few statistics from Craig there. I didn't bring it. Sorry, didn't really
I'll
bring
jump
it to
in.
screen. Yes.
I'll jump in and add one more comment on top of Evgeni's, and I think this is an important one, is that put structure in your life, right? Don't sleep into lunchtime. Don't hit the booze. Don't go to bed 3 a.m. watching Netflix. Do that. Get up, hit the gym, do the exercise. There's a clear pattern where exercise drives better mental health, right? If you don't, and having been out of work in the past, not having that routine, you spiral, and it gets harder and harder to talk to people. And when you turn up, you're not your best version of yourself, right? Times I have actually lost a great deal of weight was because I was, laid off, hit the gym, lifted some weights and got pretty fit. And when you land your next gig, you're on fire because you've got all this energy and all this capacity to go. So investing in yourself, and as Evgeni said, don't take it personally.
100%. I've been between the jobs. I took some break, and now I'm like, I'm so I'm so fit. My surfing went like next level in the last 2 months. So I need to start posting surfing videos soon. So you guys can follow that now. But anyway, just want to bring a few statistics that Craig put on the screen regarding some actually tech startups in Australia raised about 700 million in the capital in March quarter, and down to 45% from 1.3 billion raised in the previous quarter. So there is some numbers there that maybe not that positive, but minus 20% last quarter. So I'm just bringing it to the screen that whoever's watching on YouTube actually can see those comments. They don't just stay on LinkedIn. So if you guys interested, you can connect maybe with Craig and talk about it too. George is saying uncertainties in the business outlooks ahead, not AI in my view. Yes, so everyone I think agreed also that AI is nothing to do with the situation in the market and today's layoffs. So thank you so much, guys. So we have like few minutes of our stream and we get to the exciting part of the stream, the little giveaway. If you've been watching me for a while, you know that at the end of the stream, we have a virtual giveaway. It's a virtual coffee chat with our speakers. So while I'm doing announcement for next week, Evgueni and Peter will choose one person from the comments that they're going to have a virtual coffee chat so that it's your chance to ask them more questions and continue conversation on the topic. So while they're choosing the winners of today's giveaway, I'll jump into the next week. So next week is 17th of April, time flies, 17th of April, Wednesday as usual, and we're going to talk about what does a SIE do and how to become one. So obviously, if you're in the space, probably the great discussion for you to attend. I think it's especially for the people who start in their career, could be a bit confusing. You know, what's the difference between cloud, platform, SIE, you know, so many different roles. So we're going to talk specifically about SIE role next week. And if it's something you're considering as your career, you definitely should attend that one with Dom, Artyom, and Stefan next week. So I think it's hopefully give you enough time, guys, to choose the winner for the giveaway. So Peter, who will be having a virtual coffee chat with?
Look, I've squizzed through the list of comments and questions. There's lots of them. I think the most active one, or the name that pops up the most, is Stanley. So Stanley, if you're open to it, love to have half an hour coffee chat with you.
Stanley, please make sure you connect with me on LinkedIn. So that would be the easiest way. So please connect with me LinkedIn so I can follow up and make sure you connected with Peter and lock in this virtual coffee chat with you. So you can, you can go through this, 6 questions that you posted in the comments. Then hopefully half an hour will be enough to to cover those ones. Evgueni, who are you gonna speak with?
Joey Daly. And his question about are we just an expensive workforce in EU? I think it's an interesting question.
Here we go.
Yeah,
Yes,
would love to chat.
Joel, I assume we connected on LinkedIn because you're watching this live stream. So I'll make sure I'll connect you with Evgueni so you can have a chat. And guys, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us tonight. A few people saying thank you. Preeti saying thank you. Emilia having thank you. Rob saying thank you. Thank you, guys, for saying thank yous. And of course, please, if you're enjoying our discussion, guess what? Make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm actually getting close to 2,000 subscribers in the YouTube channel. Please go and subscribe. It's really important to get to 1,000 views. You know how hard it is to get the first 1,000 subscribers. So, and it costs you nothing. You just need to click that button. That's it. So please, if you're enjoying today's discussion, do it for me so that I can keep going and continue to bring those weekly discussions to you and learn more about the tech industry, specifically in Australia. Yes, so that there's not that many specific topics that covering just Australia. So please make sure to subscribe. Anyway, Evgueni, Peter, thank you so much for joining me. Just the last words from you before we finish the stream. Maybe just quick inspirational advice to everyone who affected by tech layoffs. Peter, what about you?
It's not personal. It's happened to everyone that's had a decent career, that's done interesting things. So get out there, reach out to the network, start talking to people. Everyone has been in your situation before, will definitely want to help you if they can. You just got to find that right person that connects you to that next gig. That's all it is.
Yes, yeah. And you need one person. That's the thing. You just need to find this one right person.
Find that one person. Mm-hmm.
Yes, yeah. Evgueni, what about you? The top inspirational advice for everyone out there looking for jobs.
When one door closes, another door opens. Everything that happens for the best. I think use it as an opportunity to kind of take a step back, take a pause, think of what is it that you really, really want to do, and go after it.
And maybe you learn surfing in between as well. So
And there's a career change.
Here we go. Not planning the career change yet, but definitely been enjoyable. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, everyone. There was a lot of thank yous in the chat. Thank you, Lizzie. Thank you, Megan. Thank you, Chelsea. Thank you, Wilson, for all your comments. And I'll see you next Wednesday. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.